2.3, we need to simplify the following algebraic expressions, and these are pretty straightforward. They are giving us an expression here, 5 times a, and again referring back to the rules for algebraic language, we do not need to, in fact we don't write the multiplication sign. When we do, it is again just for emphasis, just to emphasize the multiplication for whatever reason. But if you had to simplify 5 times a, it will simply become 5a. In other words, we omit the multiplication sign. Omit means to leave out. So this simplified is simply just 5a. Then for 2.3.2, I've got 1 times y times x. Now this is a combination of rules being applied here. First of all, we can omit the multiplication signs. Then secondly, we can also leave out the 1, because remember, we do not write the 1. If we had to write this with omitting the multiplication signs but leaving the 1, it would be 1yx. But of course, the convention for algebraic language says that there's still some things out of place here. For starters, we don't write the 1. So you could say, okay, so that means it must be yx then. But then again, the other rule for algebraic language is that we need to write our numbers first. In this case, the number is 1, so we will not write it. So you see there how all these rules interplay with each other. And then we write the letters second, but also we write the letters in alphabetical order. So if we just take all these sort of incorrect ways, take it out, and we then just write it the correct way, that will then be just xy. Because we took the time signs out, we took the 1 away, or we omitted it, we didn't write it down, and we wrote down the letters in alphabetical order. Then the last one. So we've got here -3 times x times 4 times y times z. Now firstly, I can omit the multiplication signs, but before I do that, I might want to just go ahead and multiply all the numbers that I see. So I've introduced you all, those of you that are in my class, I've introduced you to this abbreviation here called SNARE. It's not really a word. SNARE is not a word, but it's an abbreviation, SNE, and we of course know that S represents signs, that represents numbers, and the E is for exponents. And what this means is, SNARE is basically a sort of BODMAS, if you will. It's an order of operations. When you are dealing with algebraic expressions and you are dealing specifically with the multiplication and the division of algebraic expressions, you apply this order of operations. In other words, you are first going to deal with your signs, then you deal with your numbers, and then you deal with the exponents of your powers. Now, let's see if that works. If I apply SNARE in this expression, it means I must look at signs first. So what are my signs? I've got a negative over here, got a negative over there, and all the way through here, of course, there are no other signs, so that means it's just negative. So my final answer that I'll get will have a negative. Then, so my signs are now sorted. Then I need to look at the numbers. So what are the numbers in here? There's a 3 and there's a 4. So I need to multiply them and I get 12. Then I need to look at exponents. And exponents, of course, referring to the powers, the exponents of the powers. Then that is usually with variables. So I've got x here, I've got y, and I've got z. Now all three of them are different variables, and it's all to the power of 1. So I'm not going to be adding any exponents here. I'm simply going to just write x, y, z in alphabetical order. And of course, I've omitted all the multiplication signs as well. They are all gone because they are not needed. And that is my simplified version of the expression is negative 12xyz. Okay, so this SNE, it wasn't really that necessary to apply it in this particular example, but it is also a good example to show you how SNE or SNE works, and that's the order of operations, meaning I will first look at my signs, then my numbers, and then my exponents.